Welcome to a new episode of the Global Nomads Podcast. Today we have Toni Guffei. She's a BA Economics and has an MBA. In addition, she's a PhD in AI data-driven collections, which means that she's focusing on consumer behaviors. And she's owner of the Ratio Marketing Agency. Toni, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, nice to see you.
It's great to see you as well, and it's great to have you on the podcast. There's a lot of interesting things that we're going to discuss today, but let's start with the beginning. Let's start with personal branding and the importance of having a personal brand, not for just newcomers, but for new professionals, people who are entering their professional lifespan, for people in general who maybe been a professional for a long time, but building a personal brand. And let's talk about that.
You know, I think one of the hardest things is to build a personal brand. It's easy when it's a product or a service or a company because we can separate ourselves. Yep. But one of the things I find is that even myself is to determine not only what are my skills, but how do I present myself? What's that personality? So it's really an exercise in sitting down and self-analyzing from an external perspective, almost who you are and what you bring to the table. And it's challenging because in our heads, we think of ourselves in a certain way, but we don't know always how other people perceive us. So one of the things I always recommend is asking other people, friends and family, even just saying, what are some of the key words that you would use to describe me? For example, a friend of mine gave me a card not that long ago, and it said, you're this, this, and this. And one of the things was being funny. And I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm funny. Like, I never thought of myself that way necessarily. So I think that's a really great exercise.
So the one exercise is to ask for feedback.
Yeah.
So once you receive that feedback, what should you do then?
So it's a matter of, when it comes to branding, if we take it to, like I say, you are the product, we do want to think about the basics of colors, fonts, experiences. Those are the three things that are part of a brand strategy, so to speak. And now I'm simplifying this. A true brand strategist would go very deeply into that. But thinking about, you know, I knew a colleague and his logo color was a lime green, and he always wore this lime green shirt. And we always knew that was Greg because here he comes with a shirt, and we associated that with his brand, and it builds a perception in the mind of the person that's engaging with you. So that perception is built over time. So having these consistent elements, such as, and it doesn't mean you have to wear a certain color, but that there's something that represents, say, your personality. So those elements of look and experience, let's say, for a person, consistently through multiple channels, so multiple interactions over a long period of time, that's what builds the brand in the mind of the other person about who you are.
So consistency is key. Having an element that will differentiate you from others helps out. And this is actually interesting that you said that. Today I had a conversation in the morning with a gentleman. He was saying one of the reasons he recognized me was me having my shoulder bag on top of me. Right?
That's one of your common characteristics.
Yeah. I'm not wearing it right now because we're filming, but... Oh, thank you so much for watching the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time from your busy schedule to be with us today. And I would like to take this quick moment to say thank you to all the people who are helping me out. Sergey with the visuals, Angelica with the social media marketing, and Intrinsic Innovation for providing us with this beautiful space. All the necessary links are in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, so please spread the love. And I highly encourage you to watch the episode until the end, because there's more interesting things that we'll be sharing today. Thank you. Having those consistencies really help. But what would you say then if a person doesn't have their own brand? What should they start with in terms of what to focus on?
Well, you know, I always tell my students, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. People notice. from how you say hello and how you shake hands and how you engage, the eye contact, listening instead of speaking, how you're dressed, how you enter a room, who you talk to in the room. All of those little things matter when you're networking. And in a business environment, even if you have a job that's not related to your career, people will notice. And they'll tell people that know, if you get to know them and you're telling them what you're looking for, that's the best way to network, is show them what you can do, not just tell them, and then explain what you're looking for. And I find Calgary super friendly that way. People want to help you.
Yes, they do. Yeah. And then let's say you have a personal brand, but what does that mean from a perspective of someone who came to Canada or someone is trying to start their professional journey? Why is it important to have a personal brand from a job seeker's perspective?
I think you said it, like these things differentiate you. One mistake I can say about the personal brand is that people who come to the city, the Calgary has its own culture.
Yes.
It's just like you go to a party. You don't start talking about where you came from necessarily and what you were doing there, or who, starting to interrupt or inserting yourself into conversations. The most polite way or the best way to enter into any culture, whether it's a party or a new city or a new country, is to observe. See what the culture is, see how what you do either improves it or contributes to it, instead of trying to force that culture to adapt to who you are. Oftentimes I see newcomers not just talking about where they came from, but using examples from their country of origin to explain certain things. And it's like, if you can only see in our current culture and the way that we operate similarities and start to relate to those things, I think that gets missed, is really understanding not just the overall culture. There's many subcultures in Calgary.
Of course.
Yeah.
In a multinational city, of course, you're going to have cultures and subcultures and different types of branches going on through that, right?
For sure.
And let's say for newcomers especially, having a little sprinkle of their personal culture, will that enhance the personal branding?
I think so. Personally, I think so. It adds to the fabric of the culture, the contribution. Like, Calgary's changed so much since I've been here. It was less than 1 million people, and now it's almost nearing to 2 million. And of course, a lot of that is people from other countries, and I think it really enhances the culture here. The one thing I've noticed about Calgary, and I've lived in 5 different cities, is that people who come here, the ones who really get it, they want to adapt. They want to be a part of the culture. And it's hard to define the Calgary culture, really. Yeah. Even though it's changed, I always say you don't know Calgary till you live here and you experience it. But a lot of people want to be a part of it. So back to your question, yeah, I think it contributes. But I will also say, as a caveat, there are a lot of people who are not always open to that in some ways. They're not open to being different. So 80% adaptability, 20% your personality and your culture.
So kind of have a nice little blend there.
Yeah.
Nice. And then in terms of that, like, let's say, just continuing the thought, because one of the things as you do with ratio marketing is digital marketing. Yep. So from a perspective of digital marketing, online presence is important. When you work with new professionals, what tools do you tell them to utilize to build their own brand online?
So in terms of content creation tools?
Let's say, depending on the goal, let's say if they are looking for a job, what would be the best way to address that issue in terms of, again, brand build recognition? Mm-hmm. If they are trying to become an entrepreneur, maybe, like some person is thinking about, hey, I'll open a nail salon or a hair salon or something along those lines. And in general, when you want for people to recognize you as a professional in your industry here.
So I do want to start with content creation, because Canva and CapCut, they're 2 free to use, freemium kind of tools, right? Mm-hmm. So free to use to a certain extent. And you can create some fairly good, high quality professional images, say, that you want to use on your social media or in your signage. It doesn't have to be just digital. But let's say it's a one person and you're trying to get a job, definitely work on your LinkedIn. LinkedIn is practically has its own search optimization. Once you start to fill in what you do in some of the keywords that explain your skill set, the algorithm will start to pick up on that. Part of the thing about LinkedIn is that HR professionals use it.
Yes.
So they can search for certain keywords. So filling in the gaps, getting rid of things that don't really apply to your career path, having that professional photo, having a good headline and a summary that someone can see in an instant, like what you represent as part of your brand. You know, adding some personality and some authenticity, but don't go too far. Don't be too like flowery in a sense.
Casual kind of?
Yeah, like I had one student, he was a writer from another country, I can't remember where he's from, but he would always add these adjectives that were a little bit over the top, which in a literature kind of way would be great, but in a professional sense, like keep it simple terms. And if you're using ChatGPT, even for resumes, you need to humanize it.
Yes.
Like a lot of the tools, there's some tools now that can read, whether it's AI prepared. So go to the LLMs, the ChatGPT, Perplexity, I always recommend that one, and get them to do the research or analysis and give you the output, but then put your hands on it. You need to retype it, redo it, and adding in your own bit of personality to it.
Make it more, again, to your point, authentic to yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are the mistakes do you typically see people do on LinkedIn when they're trying to build a personal brand? Maybe something that you would say, never do that. Like it's just something that, sticks out to you when people do it.
Well, having a really poor picture. I mean, everyone is very visual now. Have a professional photo for sure. Build on your own profile and your summary. Like continually, it's like a garden. You nurture it. You have to keep building and tweaking it. Do the research. Look at other people that you see as mentors. See what they're doing on their LinkedIn for sure. And then the other thing is LinkedIn is your online networking tool. So you can leverage it by reaching out to people that you want to make connections with. And if they respond with something like, so this is how I recommend you do it. You start to build up some of your following and then you go to your followers and you see, oh, here's some people that I would like to be connected with as well. And you can make an introductory, like a little note to them and say, I'd like to connect. I see we have someone in common. Let's connect on LinkedIn. And if they respond, and usually it's only if they respond, I would reach out again and say, I'd like to find out more about your business. Can we do a one-to-one? And that's generally a Zoom call. So you can network on LinkedIn just like you do in any other event. It's making the connections, not being salesy because it's social media, and then reaching out, introducing yourself, see if there's commonality, but don't make it about you. Try to make it about them. Like what can you contribute to them and how can you refer them?
How can you be of additional benefit to that person, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, also be genuine and be curious, ask the questions, not exactly say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I see you work for this company and maybe you can give a referral to me.
Yes. So I saw a quote the other day. I can't remember who said it. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's the ratio of what you should be doing when you're interacting with people. Twice as often, listen and speak with purpose and intent. Yeah, but I also recommend what's called like a snowball technique where I meet you, I find out about you, I tell you a little bit about myself, and I say, who do you know that I could speak to that is in this industry? Again, not looking for a job, per se. Take it as a research opportunity. And I think people it appeals because you're asking questions and you're interested and you're curious. And like I say, people want to help other people here.
Especially here in Calgary, yes. Yeah. It's a very city that really tries to have a community, a sense of community. And in terms of continuing about the thought about personal branding, what biggest myth that you believe people have when they move to Canada that you think that they should forget about when, again, from a personal branding perspective?
That's a good question, because I think we all have limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And if you focus on your limitations, that's what you attract. You'll be in kind of a box. But if you are courageous, perhaps maybe that's not the right word, but if you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone and don't pay attention to the limitations that you feel you might have, like, oh, I'm new to the city, I don't know anybody, what if I don't have the right skills? I think we all feel limitations in our lives, but if you focus on those, I think that's what holds you back.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Another question that I had is, from a perspective of newcomers that come here, some of the nuances that they may face is, how do you sound genuine without having, that sales pitch that you were talking about earlier as well? So without having to sell themselves, how can they use a platform like LinkedIn outside of reaching out to people directly? What kind of content ideas would you say they should look into to make them look professional and to make them look genuine?
Yeah, so there's two different types of posts, let's say, on LinkedIn. Let's just talk about static posts. There's the curated posts, mm-hmm. which is taking a piece of content that's been developed by someone else originally, adding your own, reading it, adding your own comments and posting it. And then there's the original posts. So writing your own blogs or reading something and just writing a commentary without having a link, say. Both of those things I think are pretty valuable. What you were trying to do, if you're leveraging LinkedIn, is you want to position yourself as a thought leader or an expert in your field. Mm-hmm. So one thing is to do the posts, but do them on a regular basis. Because if you don't do them regularly enough, people think, oh, you're just, the consistency is not there. Yep. So the consistent posting, and then also building your followers. Continually reaching out to people that you want to know, but also building that online network, because as you build your network, then they're the ones who are going to see your posts and they're going to like or share your posts. But the more it gets seen, the more it gets spread.
And how do you build that network? Because yes, you can go one by one to reach people, and some people will connect and they become your followers. But that's a bit of a long-term play, right? In terms of it's not easy to build the following one by one. Are there any tips that you could share that could accelerate that?
Well, I mean, I think it is important. So I would suggest taking 15 minutes during the week, just 15 minutes, and going into LinkedIn and connecting with 20 people. Mm-hmm. Just do it. It takes less than a minute. Just do it on a regular basis. And it's a numbers game. So 20 people, you send out that invitation, maybe 5 will connect with you.
Yes.
Yes, so over time you slowly build it. So that is one way. The other way is to leverage your posts and ask people to share it. Tagging other people is another thing. Mm-hmm. Using other interactive, like polls and other ways, asking people questions, getting them to engage. So the algorithm picks it up and naturally starts to share it with other people. Again, the more people see it or comment or engage, the more the algorithm will push it out further.
Speaking of algorithms on, let's say on LinkedIn, just continuing on the thought of LinkedIn, I remember reading a while back that if you post something on LinkedIn and you add a link to, let's say, Instagram, the algorithm will decrease the views for that particular post because it doesn't want it to switch from LinkedIn to Instagram. Mm-hmm. What tips would you say help the algorithm see you, and what tips do you think that detract from the algorithm from helping you accelerate the amount of people that are seeing your posts?
Well, thinking about my own posts, the things that I found that, and I recommend, the short answer is it depends.
Okay.
In digital marketing, oftentimes it depends. But from my own posts and my experience and my ability or wanting to share my expertise, it's funny, the posts that get the best response are the ones where I'm talking about myself or my career, because I don't always do that. It's rare. So I see that once in a while if I post something about this is the research that I've been doing, or here's a client that I've been working with, people seem to really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So the algorithm pushes it out, and I get like a couple thousand not comments, but views, and then some more comments. The ones that, so I really try and watch and analyze, and I think that's an important thing for anybody to do is, what is it that's getting the views or the engagement? And it could be specific to what that person is discussing and talking about. Yeah, so the ones that get the less views are some of the ones that are maybe more dated, like they're not as relevant in terms of digital marketing. Mm-hmm. But some of my old posts still pop up. Like I did one on Women's Day and who I admired most, and I tagged some people. So that one comes up every once in a while as being boosted up. I don't know. Maybe
that's interesting, right? Like I have some posts like that as well that, I would publish a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and all of a sudden I see a like on it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, someone's dug in there, yeah.
Yeah, someone either went and started reading all my posts, or they just popped up to someone for some reason.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, isn't it? Maybe because International Women's Day, that was what that post was related to, and maybe because it's an annual thing, it kind of comes up.
Maybe, yeah. Interesting. But we're talking about LinkedIn as a professional for people who are looking for a new job. But let's say you are in the content creating space and you have your Instagram page, or you're trying to attract new clients to your business through Instagram or through TikTok or somewhere else. Would you give them the same tips as you would give for LinkedIn, or is it a little bit different for those platforms?
Well, on the visual platforms, which Instagram's more about, you want to show your creativity. I think the difference is oftentimes LinkedIn is B2B, mm-hmm. like you're reaching out to business professionals, whereas these display platforms where you see things visually could more likely be B2C or direct to consumer.
Yeah.
What I recommend in that is, sure, show your expertise, but actually pick a niche. The most success I've seen with creators is when they actually either pick a demographic or pick a city or pick a product or something, not just a product, but a product type or a type of industry. That's when I see the best success, is because they're focusing their efforts and they're kind of making their name in that niche. Doesn't mean you have to stay there forever, but as a starting point, you want to get known. You're trying to build, like Malcolm Gladwell, the tipping point where sales or impressions or followers will tip is when a few people start to recognize your value and they start to share it with other people.
So and then it amplifies that.
It amplifies that way. That's what I've seen. Yeah.
So maybe let's do a little review then on this particular podcast, just because that's the niche that we've chosen in terms of helping immigrants and immigrant journeys. But some of the tips that we share is not applicable only to immigrants; it's applicable to everyone. But in terms of this platform itself, what we're doing and what you've seen so far, what would you suggest, maybe a tip that will help us improve?
Well, to be honest, I haven't seen all of them. Mm-hmm. I've seen the latest one popped up on my feed when I watched it. No, I think you've got a really great style, and just continuing to get to keep on that path of focusing on a very specific niche. I don't know. Maybe building a little bit more on the personality, like your personality. Mm-hmm. You could add a little bit more of just insight, or maybe behind the scenes, or maybe something personal where we started by walking into this room, but maybe starting from getting in your car and a little bit of the day of the life, a little bit of that sprinkling a little bit of influencer aspect about you, because that'll really add to the personality, because this is your show. You are the brand. We want to see, well, I think a lot of people that they want to see what goes on behind the scenes.
I see. Okay, that's a good tip. Thank you. I want to now move forward to the students, because as part of what you do is you help students, especially new professionals who are trying to find their first job, to become a professional or to get their professional journey started. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can start with that. Like, how do you help them?
Well, I teach digital marketing. Mm-hmm. So my students come to the table with their own skill set. Some of them have no skills. Some of them already have skills. I think I know the way that I help them most is I help them understand the strategy, because it's one thing to learn the skills and the tools. Even with the LLMs, I reinforce the fact that...
I'm sorry, the LOMs?
Oh, sorry, the large language models. That's one bucket where ChatGPT, Perplexity, all the AI tools are large language models. They're based on that same concept of understanding language and being able to reiterate and think artificially to respond. So even when they're using those types of tools, I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry, I distracted you with that.
No, it's okay. I should have defined that.
But we were talking about students and how some of them come with their own skill sets.
Oh, right. And so what I say is that the tools are the tools. You still have to tell them what to do. Mm-hmm. You still have to understand the strategy behind it. So the questions, the queries, whatever you're asking online, you still have to come from a place of understanding why you're doing things as well. So I try and teach them the strategy. So strategy is really about understanding where we are now, where we want to go, and how do we get there. So it's that analytic piece. It's really analyzing patterns, understanding what works, what doesn't work, how to optimize things, like doing away with things that don't work, investing more in things that do work. So it's observing, analyzing. Like, strategy is difficult to teach because it's hands-on. You have to get in there. I can teach you the skill set, but the analytics and the strategy, that comes almost from an internal nature, probably from being curious about something.
So basically you derive the strategy all around the curiosity of the person?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
For sure.
I guess that makes sense, right? Like if a person is interested or curious about an aspect, they're going to be more focused on, they're going to be more interested in it, and it's easier to cater the strategy towards the interest.
Yeah. Well, think about yourself, or even myself. I like doing things that I really like to do. And if I'm interested and I'm focused, I can go down that rabbit hole. Like we call it the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we might do on a personal level, but in a business sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And when we chatted right before we started recording, you mentioned that you brought a couple of points that you wanted to share with the audience in terms of...
for sure. Let's see. So one of the things we talked about was personal branding, and I had a note here, like, it's just like public speaking. Mm-hmm. When you're engaging with others, this biggest myth piece. So public speaking is thinking about the audience and less about thinking about who you are. That's how I got over my nervousness of doing it, is when I realized, oh, this isn't actually about me. It is about them. So turning your focus outward.
So that's more for people who have challenges with public speaking?
Well, not just public speaking, but conveying their own personal brand as well. So that's a bit of the myth when it comes to personal branding, that it's not always just about you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's not just, it's how the other people also see you and how your personal brand helps them with the issue that they might be having.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And, there's this, I don't know where I got this from, but people are more interested in you when you ask more questions about them.
Yes, that is very true.
That's the concept.
Yeah. But on that note, what is the biggest transformation you usually see in your students that have taken your course?
That it's just the confidence. Because in the courses that I teach, my teaching style is to engage my students. It's not just talking. It's applying the concepts, and then it's called flipping the classroom. I have them teach the other students what they've learned. And through that, it gives them the confidence.
And can you give some tips in terms of very direct tips that the person can do at home to build that confidence for themselves?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think if let's say you're in digital marketing and you're really interested in SEO, search engine optimization, and you've taken a course and you've learned the basics, But then you go down that rabbit hole and you start to investigate and develop a bit of curiosity, and you realize it's huge. And especially now with the artificial intelligence, you take all these different courses, but then take that information and answer some of the questions yourselves. It's kind of like a self-reflection. You want to apply what you've learned in a written kind of way or even a verbal way to other people. Explain it to other people, maybe your partner or some friends, and just say, hey, this is something that I've learned. And then as you speak it, I think that it's a part of psychology. If we speak what's in our subconscious, it becomes more concrete and we understand it better. So speaking or writing it helps us to cement that thought in our mind and helps it to make sense.
I found that even with myself, if I try to teach something to someone, it sticks better with me because I was able to rethink and reevaluate it and find a way to explain it so that it's very simple. And thus I understand that concept or issue or whatever the problem was even better.
I know. As a teacher, I always say you don't know a subject till you teach it.
Yes.
Yeah. I just got a new opportunity at Bow Valley College to develop their e-commerce foundations course. And at first I was, I've never taught this before, but I do work in that space and I do have the knowledge. And now I'm super excited because as I'm building it out, I'm realizing, I really know this stuff. But in teaching it, I've had to detail it out to a point where it really becomes meaningful. So I don't know, something about that resonates with me.
Honestly, my background, I have a lot of professors and teachers in my family.
Okay.
And teaching the course, first of all, I see that there's some kind of a longevity aspect to it as well. The more you teach to younger kids, the younger you feel yourself, and then you feel up to date with the industry as well, because you want to go and do that research. You want to make sure that the information that you're conveying is all current and nothing old. So it helps you be curious there too.
I know. So I'm getting really young.
Well, yes. What, from a trend perspective, because we talked quite a bit about AI as well, and you have some good history with dealing with the AI. But from a branding perspective, and from a perspective of building your personal life here in your country, what trends are you seeing that people should be aware of?
In what context?
In the context, let's talk about personal branding. So from a perspective of personal branding, like you did mention that, when you're using AI, make sure that it sounds authentic, kind of make sure that it sounds more like you instead of just the robot speaking on it.
Right.
But what other things that you see that new technologies are improving, maybe some new ideas that are coming around people could utilize to help with their personal branding journeys?
Well, the thing that comes to mind is just learning about the tools and what they can do in your profession and leveraging that when you're talking to people. So there's so many people in business right now that have no idea what to do with AI. But if you come along as a digital marketing expert and you've been investigating how to use AI for not just content creation, but for Google Ads, for example, or Meta, and you can bring to the table that you have this expertise and knowledge in an area where you know how to leverage the tools, I think that puts you further ahead than other people. And it's also expressing that in such a way that it's not salesy. It's like, my background is this, but I also know how to use these tools. And for example, this is what I've done. So it really paints a picture in people's minds that, hey, this person's an expert and they know how to use AI. So that, I think, would impress people.
Okay, yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, from a questions perspective, I don't have any more questions for you. But one thing I did want to ask in terms of tips,
Great.
is there's and something that you believe people, especially coming into Canada, people building their professional journey, what would be the thing that you believe that if they listen for the whole podcast, one thing or two things that they must adapt into their day-to-day lives?
I think the word authentic for sure came out. And what is authenticity? It's being yourself. And the saying is, know thyself. And working through that process of what is my personal brand? Who am I really? Not just who am I, but how do I want people to perceive me? Marketing is about perception, how people perceive you, for sure. And building your online presence. It is labor intensive. It is work. You need to nurture it like a garden and tend to it frequently and continue to add your thoughts and express who you are online. I think that's super important.
And with that, I do agree, it's labor intensive. But as a person who just moved to Canada 7.5 years ago, I can say that building an online presence is one of the best investments I did in my own personal brand journey.
Right, sounds good.
Yeah.
You're living proof.
See? And Toni, I know that you have developed a personal brand worksheet. And if you don't mind, what are the most important elements of that worksheet, essentially?
Okay, I have them here, so I'm just going to read it off in case your viewers want to take notes. So one of the first things is list the skills or credentials that you want to share with your followers, either online or also people you meet in networking. List your passions. That's a really great speaking point when you meet people. Oftentimes people will talk about their work or their profession, but it's when they have something personal to add. It could be about your children or, about some of the things that you like to do outside of being in the business world, maybe arts and culture. That's always a good thing. So just listing those things, and you'll probably be surprised that other people might be interested in those same things. And so it's a commonality speaking point. What's your brand mission? That means what do you stand for and what are your values? So what's important to you? For me, I know probably the same with you, it's integrity.
Yeah.
That's one of my key passions or missions, is that I want to create, I want to go over and above and provide services with integrity. And then your brand vision, what do you want to be known for, especially not just now, but in the future? Where are you going with your vision? And what are your aspirations? Brand colors, like colors that appeal to you, and those can be used in your posts as complementary colors. I worked with a retailer or a real estate agent once, and they're confined by the brand colors of their company.
Yeah.
But she liked the colors red and gold, so we would put little touches of those in her Instagram posts. So that builds a certain perception. Brand messaging, what do you want to share with your audience? What are the keywords or tagline or even pillars? Like, what are the key pillars of your focus and knowledge? And that could be a specific product or a service and just anything that is specific to your expertise. And then your personality, what makes you different or unique that you want to share with your audience that even could inspire them?
Oh. So, for example, if you are more passionate and you articulate a lot, or maybe you're more cuddly, then that will change the perception as well.
Right.
Yeah. And once you complete all that, the result is that you have your own understanding of what your brand should look like. Is that correct?
It gives you the foundation of understanding basically who you want to be or who you are, and then you can build your content and your other experiences based on that.
Well, Toni, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and sharing your wisdom and experience with the audience. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Thank you.